everyone, it's Julianne here, and welcome back to the Possum Stamps YouTube channel. Today is National Coffee Day, and we are super excited to be joining in on the National Coffee Day blog hop as one of the super sponsors this year. Now, I've gone ahead and created this coffee-inspired mini slimline card in order to share with you all today. I will also be going over how to find the link to our blog so that way you can join in on the hop, as well as where you can find the information on how you can win a gift card to the Possum Stamp shop. But let's just jump right on into the card and we'll get started. Now, using my Misty, I'm going to be stamping 5 of the images that are included in our Coffee Besties stamp set. I did end up stamping the cup with the puppy inside of it because I thought I was going to include him in on my card, but there really wasn't enough room. Now I'm going to be stamping each one of my images a couple of times so that way I can get a nice solid black outline. And then I'm going to be moving on to creating my background so that way it has plenty of time to dry. Now I went ahead and trimmed down a piece of white cardstock, and I've placed a mini slimline stencil over that cardstock, just temporarily adhering that down into place using some washi tape. Now using one of my craft knives, I'm then going to scoop out some texture paste, and I'm just going to add that directly to my work surface. And I'm also going to be taking one of my distress inks in the color Wild Honey, and I'm going to be smushing that ink pad directly on my work surface as well. Now using that same craft knife, I'm then going to mix those two together so that way I'm going to create my own colored paste. Now once I get the color that I'm looking for, and you can always, if you wanted the color more darker, add some more ink, or if you wanted it a little lighter, you could add some more paste. But since I'm happy with how this color looks, I'm then going to spread the paste all over my stencil. Now I'm wanting to have a rough edge, so I'm not going to be spreading it completely throughout the stencil. Now once I'm happy with how that looks, I can then just peel off that stencil in order to reveal my background. Now to make sure that the paste doesn't permanently dry on my work surface, I did want to mention that I did go and clean both my work surface off as well as my craft knife. Now using a paintbrush, I'm now going to splatter some gold paint throughout my background, and then I'm going to add even more interest. I'm going to smush another one of my distress inks in the color Walnut Stain on my work surface, and I'm going to add just a little bit of water, and I'll mix those together and then I'll splatter that color onto my background as well. Now once I'm happy with how my background looks, I'll then just set that off to the side to completely dry, and then I'm going to start working on my Copic coloring. For my coloring today, I did want my card to have a fall theme, so I am going to be using a lot of fall colors in my Copic coloring. For the one coffee cup, I'm going to be using an orange combination, and then for the other one, I'm going to be doing a dark green. Now for all of my coloring, I will make sure to have all of my marker caps off to the side of the screen, so that way you can follow along with the colors that I'm using if you're interested, and I'll be right back. Once I had finished all of my coloring, I did go ahead and use the coordinating dies in order to cut out each one of my images. And now I'm going to start working on stamping out my sentiment. I'm going to be stamping out the sentiment that reads, "Coffee is better with a friend," onto some brown colored cardstock using some Versamark ink. Now, I knew that I was going to be using a friend die for part of my sentiment, so I'm going to be masking off sections of my sentiment using a Post-it note so that way I can have separate sentiment strips on my card. Once I get both of those stamped out, I'm then going to be adding some white embossing powder over each one of my sentiments, and I'm just going to tap off any excess powder that there might be, and then I'm going to be heat embossing my sentiments using my heat tool. Now, to make sure that I don't get any bubbles in my heat embossing or any warping, I always like to heat up the back side of my cardstock first, and then I just flip that over and emboss my sentiment. Now, off camera, I did trim down both sentiments using my paper trimmer, and I also ran my friend die through my die cutting machine using brown and white cardstock. And now I'm going to be using some Barely Arts liquid glue, and I'm going to be adhering the two layers together. I'm now going to start working on adhering everything down to my card. I'm going to start off by adding some foam adhesive behind both of my sentiments as well as my images. I'm going to be adding some foam adhesive strips behind both of those embossed sentiments. And then I'm going to be using some of my thin foam adhesive squares, and I'm going to be adding those behind my coffee cup images. Now, I did want to mention that I had already decided on the placement and the arrangement of my coffee cups. So a little trick that I like to do is I just like to add a little bit of washi tape over my images, and that's going to help keep those together. So that way I can just easily flip them over and add whatever adhesive I'm using, which in this case is the foam adhesive. And once I add my adhesive, I can just easily flip them back over and adhere them where I had them before. Now, in order to adhere my background, I did go ahead and trim that down to 3.5 by 6.5. And I'm going to be adhering it down to a piece of craft cardstock using some additional foam adhesive. I did trim that craft cardstock and scored it to make a card base that is just slightly larger than my background. Once I have that all adhered, I'm then going to be adhering my coffee cup images above my sentiments using the foam adhesive squares, and then I'm going to be adding some liquid adhesive to the back of my friend die cut, and I'm going to be adhering that down towards the bottom of my card. To finish off my card for today, I'm going to be scattering a bunch of the sequins from the roasted coffee sequin mix throughout my card, and I'm going to be adhering each one of those down using some more of that liquid adhesive. Once I have those all adhered, that's going to complete my coffee-inspired card in order to celebrate National Coffee Day with all of you guys today. I hope that you all enjoyed my card today, and if you did, make sure to give it a thumbs up, as well as subscribe to the Possum Stamps YouTube channel. Now, in the description box down below, you will find links to all of the supplies I used, as well as a link that's going to take you directly to our blog. Make sure you get a big old cup of coffee, and that way you can join in all the fun during the National Coffee Day blog hop. There are a total of 26 super sponsors this year, so that means there are some super great crafty prizes. So make sure that you head on over there now. Also, make sure to leave a comment on the Possum Stamps blog post so that way you can be entered in to win a $20 gift card to the shop. As always, I hope you have a wonderful day and happy crafting!